So the NFL season is fastly approaching, so I think it's time for me to give my predictions on who's going to win every division of football. And of course, I'm not going to do that all in one video, but I'm going to start off alphabetically with the AFC East because, like I said, I want to do this alphabetically. I think I just said alphabetically out of nowhere. Nice job, Nayo. But when I look at this division, it's really a three-horse race for first place. No offense to the Patriots, but it's just not your year. Yes, they are going to be pretty competitive this year, I feel like, but it's just not this year for them to compete for the division, especially given the AFC East is honestly one of the more tougher divisions in football. I don't want to say the best because I'm going to get to a division here shortly that I think everybody in it has a legitimate chance to win. But this division is incredibly competitive. And of course, the three-horse race is between the Buffalo Bills, the Miami Dolphins, and the New York Jets. And the biggest question and what the title of this video is, who will dethrone the Buffalo Bills? And in my opinion, nobody. The Bills are probably, I'm guessing, the favorite to win this division, and I think they will. And just because I think they will win this division doesn't mean I think it's a slam dunk. Like, I could honestly see any one of these three teams winning this division. If you were to say you pick the Jets or if you were to say you pick the Dolphins, I wouldn't call you crazy because that's definitely plausible because these are three pretty good teams that we're looking at. But I just trust the Bills more than I trust these other teams. When I look at the Bills, I look at a team that I think a lot of people think will take a step back given all the supposed talent they had walking out the door. And I say talent because I think a lot of the people they lost, while yes, they are big name players and they have been pretty good for most of their career, I don't think they were as impactful as people would like to believe, especially last year for the Bills. I mean, yes, losing Stephon Diggs, I feel like is going to be huge in maybe the short term, but I don't think it'll have that big of an effect on this offense because once this offense made the switch of offensive coordinators, they kind of changed their philosophy around this offense, and it wasn't one that featured Stephon Diggs. In years prior, the Buffalo Bills were this team that looked like they wanted to throw the ball 40, 50 times a game and always had the ball in Josh Allen's hands at all times. They didn't really have a run game. But this year, last year, they kind of switched it all up and became this team that ran the ball more, utilized play action, utilized two tight end sets a lot more, given they have two really good tight ends and one tight end in Dalton Kincaid that I think can make a leap into a top 5 tight end this year, given this offense is going to be one where he's going to be, I think he's their number one weapon. He's the best receiver they got, and that's no slight to anybody in their receiving room. I just think he's that good, and he's going to be in a situation that's going to showcase his abilities that well. Because I definitely see this offense being one that utilizes two tight end sets a lot of heavy sets, a lot of tight compressed sets, a lot of sets that they can do a lot of different things out of because they're so multiple, because they're so versatile. I mean, even their starting running back, James Cook, can do a lot out the backfield as a pass catcher. And I expect him to be a really big player in this offense. And even though I haven't really mentioned any of their receivers, I don't think this receiving room is as bad as people believe it is. I mean, of course, at face value, it doesn't look too good, but so far in camp, we've heard great things about Keon Coleman and his connection with Josh Allen. Curtis Samuel, I think, should be an underrated fantasy pickup because he's going to be a guy that gets a lot of touches in a lot of different ways and is going to be a nice little X factor, a nice little, weapon for this offense. They can put him all over the place. I believe you're going to see times where he's lined up in the backfield with Josh Allen and James Cook, and that's going to be really hard to guard for an opposing defense. And they have Khalif Shakur. I can never truly say his name right, and I think he will explode this year as a nice slot receiver, given that he already had a good rapport with Josh Allen last year in his rookie year. I just really like this offense, and while it may not pass the eye test like Buffalo Bills offenses of the past, I think it's going to be far more efficient, and I think it's just going to be more sustainable as the season goes on because in the NFL, the playoffs are played in the winter. And you're in the AFC, so that means you're going to have to probably go to Kansas City. You play in Buffalo. It's always cold in Buffalo that time of year. You may have to go to Cincinnati, Baltimore, these places where you're going to be outside in weather conditions that are probably not going to be that favorable. So it's going to be smart to build a team that can really do a lot of different things and especially run the ball really well. And also, they have Josh Allen, who I think is the second best quarterback in the league. And when I look at three teams that are all very similar when it comes to talent, I look at the quarterback position, and he's by far the best quarterback in this division. And defensively, when I look at the Buffalo Bills, while yes, they lost a lot of big names to a lot of people like the Micah Hydes, the Joey Porters, the Tre'Davious Whites, those were guys that, yes, they were pretty good, but they've been hurt. They've been banged up. They're getting older. It was smart to move on from them. And I believe this defense will still be as good as it's been in the past, given I still like what they have up front. I expect Von Miller to have a much better year than he did last year, just based off the fact that last year he was literally non-existent, even though I think he's going through a suspension. Maybe that was last year. I'm just getting my timelines mixed up. But I expect a lot of people to play really well and excel in these newly given roles. A guy like Cole Bishop, someone they drafted this past year in the draft, he's a guy that's going to have to step up and play in the secondary, and I believe he can. I believe he's a really nice fit for them. They still have Matt Milano manning the middle, so it's like they still have a lot of their core guys and guys that they can lean on. I believe this defense will still be good, and while it won't be the best in this division, it will be good enough for them to win, especially when I believe this offense won't miss a beat and will do a lot of things that will cater to this defense and help keep this defense off the field so they can rest up and do what they do best. Now, we'll look at these other two teams they're competing with. The reason I'm not choosing the Jets is because I just have a lot of questions about this offense. Of course, when it comes to the Jets, I have no questions about this defense. This defense, in my opinion, is probably going to be the best in the league. I mean, they have no holes. They brought back all their people. Everybody is so young. They play so well, and they just don't let big plays happen that often. And so none of my questions lie there. It's just when I look at this team offensively, they have the potential to be really good offensively. Like, I really like the weapons they have. I really like all the offensive line additions they made. I really like the addition of Mike Williams, and I really like their running back room, of course, led by Breece Hall, and then also Braylon Allen, who was one of my favorite picks in the draft. But I still have questions because it's like, how good are we expecting Aaron Rodgers to be? Aaron Rodgers is getting older. He's coming off an Achilles injury. A lot of the things Aaron Rodgers does really well does rely on his athleticism. Even though it doesn't look like that, his ability to maneuver around the pocket, his ability to throw the ball kind of does hinges on his lower body. So how much will that Achilles injury affect him, especially at his age? Achilles injury is hard to come back from no matter what circumstance, but especially when you're older. So it's like, how good can we expect him to be? And of course, if you're a Jets fan, and if you're picking the Jets, you're going to make the debate that Aaron Rodgers doesn't have to do much. He just has to be better than Zach Wilson, which of course is not a hard thing to do. But still, for this team to make the playoffs and win the division, it hinges upon how good he is and also how good his offensive line is. Of course, I said that I really like their additions, especially their drafting of, I can never say the dude's name, but the dude out of Penn State, I can never say his name right. I'm not going to try and say it. And then picking up Tyron Smith, but it's like, will Tyron Smith be healthy? Is this rookie they drafted out of Penn State the real deal? And will he be able to step in and play when Tyron Smith doesn't play? Because you ask all Cowboys fans, you know that Tyron Smith, when he plays, he's amazing, but it's just when he plays. So, yeah, those are my questions with the Jets. Of course, I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets win this division because they're a very talented team. And I think I see them as like a top 13 team. I forget how my power rankings were set up. And then you have the Dolphins. And then you have the Dolphins, who are probably one of the more interesting teams in the league because, like, they're so sexy, but they can never really put it together. I know 2 years ago, Tua got hurt, and they actually competed in the playoff game against the Bills with Skylar Thompson in Buffalo. But then it's like last year, it's like you look at their record and you look at what they did, and you don't look at like maybe who they played, and you're like, wow, this team was actually pretty good. But last year, they beat up on all the bad teams, which is what you're supposed to do. I'm never going to get mad at a team for beating up on bad competition because that's what the really good teams are supposed to do. But the really good teams are also supposed to beat the good teams. That's something that they struggled with last year. They got swept by the Bills and lost at the end of the season in a game that could have got them home field advantage and very well could have changed the way we look at this team in general because they wouldn't have to open up the playoffs going to Kansas City in a cold game, which they played terrible with, which is another reason I'm kind of concerned about this team because it's like, listen, you're going to have to maybe win a game at MetLife late in the year when it's cold. You're going to have to go to Buffalo late in the year and win a game. You're going to have to go to Foxborough late in the year and win a game. Are you going to be able to do that? And I don't know. They're not a team that's really built for the cold weather. Their quarterback, Tua, isn't the best when it comes to that. And their weapons aren't the best. This is a team built on speed, built on running you out the gym, the field, I don't really know how to say it. But it's like I still have to respect this team because offensively, it's like you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Tyreek Hill was voted by his peers as the best player in football. Do I think he's the best player in football? No. Shoot, I don't even think he's the best receiver. But if his peers think that, it means something. So it's like they have the pieces. They just got to put it together. And I really do like the offseason they had when it came to, acquiring Odell, the things that they acquired defensively. Even though defensively, I have a lot of questions because they're going to miss their two best pass rushers for a majority of this year. And yes, they drafted Chop Robinson, who was a young guy, very raw. Can he step up? Will Calais Campbell be able to turn back the clock and be the Calais Campbell that he has been for a majority of his career? Because they're going to need that, given Jalen Phillips is not going to be there for a long time. Bradley Chubb is not going to be there for a long time. In all honesty, if those two players were healthy, I may have them winning this division, but I just don't know. And that pass rush was one of their strengths last year when those guys were healthy, and when they were hurt, I wouldn't say it was a weakness, but it wasn't what it was. Just the Dolphins are such an interesting team that has so many questions, and it's like if all NFL games were played in these great conditions, shoot, they may be the team I picked to win the Super Bowl. But then again, when they played teams in great conditions, they still didn't win. They lost to the Chiefs up there in London, and I'm pretty sure that game wasn't cold. I mean, it was at 8 a.m. I think 8 a.m. here because of time difference. But yeah, the Dolphins are just such an interesting team. Like I said, I look at them on paper, sexy. I really think about what they have done and what they probably will do. I don't know. It's just questions. And then last but not least, you have the New England Patriots, and it's like, not to disrespect the Patriots at all, I just don't think it's your year yet. I think there is a world where this team can be a sneaky dark horse team to make the playoffs and really fuck up everybody's life in this division. I definitely can see them stealing a game off of all these teams because, one, even though, yes, they're losing maybe the greatest defensive mind we've ever seen in the NFL, this defense is still really good, man. Like, they're still really good. And Gerard Mayo is a guy that's been he's been a part of this coaching staff for a minute, and by all reports, he's had a good hand in making his defense what it is. So I don't expect his defense to drop off. And offensively, they're built to be a team that's going to run the ball pretty well and beat you with play-action passes. And I think their offense is going to be half decent, and mainly because whoever starts at quarterback is going to be better than Mac Jones. Jacoby Brissett is a very serviceable quarterback, and he's probably going to start the season, given the Drake May reports for camp have been like all over the place. And then what if Drake May plays? And Drake May has all the ability to be amazing in this league. And this Patriots team is a team that I think the future is very bright for. Maybe just not right now. But then they can also say, "Fuck you, Niall," and go on a nice little run and mess up a lot of people's season, especially in this division. Or maybe Joe Milton plays. I'm not buying that. I've seen the reports. I don't. Joe Milton practices amazing, but plays terribly. Ask Tennessee fans and ask some Michigan fans. Joe Milton is just the ultimate practice player, but then you see him on the field and you like, I heard good things about you. Or it's like he just comes in unannounced and looks well, but then when you can game plan for him, he doesn't look that well. Shoot, I was high on Joe Milton at one point in time because he has all the tools, but I'm not buying it. I am not. So yeah, all in all, I think this division will be extremely competitive, but I just got Buffalo right now. I trust what is cooking up there in Buffalo.